could you say that what you were just saying about Oborski and how what had transpired when Antonio arrived on the scene?
Just, you know, Antonio dropped off me and Carla, and then he went around to park the car, and him and Sarah got out. And just, I mean, the impression I got at the time that it happened was that, he was barking at Antonio just the minute he got out of the car. Or the second that he saw him, he was already saying something, because we were there, and then all of a sudden he's hollering at Mr. Buehler over the loudspeaker. So it was kind of just bang, bang. And just...
Wow. That's interesting.
Video doesn't lie, you know?
Yep. And how many officers were there responding?
Oh, wow. See, there was originally just one. Then the second one came up. They had another undercover car. 3, maybe 4 black and whites. I know they had one across the street shining their lights on us. It was like, eventually, 5 or 6 cars there.
Okay. And maybe one officer per car?
Yeah, as far as I could tell.
Okay. And now, some initial reports that came out, a story written early on, I think maybe by W. Russell, I don't remember if she wrote it or compiled it or what, stated that the incident occurred around 2 a.m. However, when I, myself, who was with one of the other Peaceful Streets teams going around, we got a message at 1:30 a.m. that said that Antonio had been arrested and to come help out, but they didn't give us a location. We had to make a couple calls first, but what time would you say it was about that this incident occurred, if you can remember that?
Approximately 1:11.
1:11 a.m.?
Approximately.
Well, that sounds right, because we weren't even there until it was probably almost 11:40. I'm sorry, 1:40. It was 1:40 basically when we got there, and the scene was pretty much cleaned up, and they were getting ready to tow his car.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, understand that at the time it's going on, it feels like time is just dragging out forever, man. It goes by slow, but it was barely after 1 o'clock.
So it was only 20 minutes or so after we had our meeting and our two groups met up and had planned to have a future meeting just a mere 15 minutes after the incident occurred.
Yeah, pretty much. Are you talking about when we were all over at the 7-Eleven talking and then got in our cars?
Yep, and we were going to meet at Mexitas at 1:30, remember? And that's why I had gone back to drop them off so they could go to Mexitas and meet you guys for cop watching downtown on 6th Street.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it didn't take us very long to get over there. I remember it was like, in the future I'm going to remember to look at my watch and document the time. Actually, I've got that function on my video camera, I just didn't have it turned on.
Do you think there is a likelihood that...
I still got that footage in my camera. I bet I can pull it up and it'll show what time that happened.
Yeah, that'd be nice to know. Thank you, though. Yeah, I felt like it was more like 1:15 because we got there at 1:40 and it was over, basically. But, do you think that there's a likelihood at all that any of the caravans with Peaceful Streets were being followed or tracked Thursday night?
Oh, I really don't want to go that far down the rabbit hole just yet. There's a good possibility. But you got to understand that Antonio, he's got that magnetic Ron Paul sign stuck on the outside of the door of the car.
That's awesome.
And that's why when we were coming down the street, I told him, hey, don't you think it'd be a good idea to take that sign off the side of the car someday before you do this? And he's like, oh, that's a good idea. It's magnetized. Just reach over and pull it off.
Nice. I'm glad y'all realized that. Well, I just thought I'd ask, you know, it's a question a few people had. Not that it really matters, but, you know, just something to think of about.
We'd already driven by Oborski a couple of times with the sign on the car. This was like on the way back to go over and get out of the car. was when I pulled it off. So he knows Antonio. Car with the Ron Paul sign on the side. he got to look at us. I mean, I'm pretty. He'd have to be an idiot to not know that was us and that we were on the way. You know.
Yeah. It seems like. Well, do you think Antonio was deliberately targeted?
Well, it just seems to me. I mean, if you listen to, on the video, the audio of Oborski hollering at him on the loudspeaker, he didn't seem entirely surprised to see him there. So is he being targeted? Oh, well, most definitely. Ray Charles can see that. He's blind and dead.
Wow. Well, yeah, everything you're telling me points to targeting, or that at least Oborski knew before the arrest occurred that Antonio was going to get arrested that night.
No one can really read minds, but yeah, you can look at that one of two ways. First, for Oborski personally to target Antonio, I'm not saying that, he wouldn't do it. I'm saying, in my opinion, that would be phenomenally stupid.
Yes.
And the way it looks, it's like, if I had to play like I'm a mind reader for a second, I mean, I'm thinking going through Oborski's mind is like, oh yeah, I got him. He gave me a reason. I got him. I can get him legit. That, and there's nobody else around on that street that time of night. I mean, there's us and the cop and the lady who got pulled over. That's it. So there's nobody to really see. There's no witnesses. And I remember thinking at the time, this guy's acting awfully bold, because we've been out there the week before down on 6th Street, and they're pretty much taking a hands-off policy with us. And I mean, they won't even want to talk to us or anything. They see the peaceful street shirt, they don't really have anything to say. So it kind of struck me as kind of funny the way, they pounced on him, just basically, like minutes after he got out the car. I mean, there's the environment, though. There's no witnesses. It's dark. So
yeah,
I just walked right into that. As far as them setting a trap, I don't think it's like they set a deliberate trap that night. I think it's an ongoing trap that they're going to look for any excuse.
Well said.
That's what it is. It's the best policy to assume that anyways and conduct yourself accordingly,
Of course, yes. So, thank you so much for giving me the time and allowing, being so liberal with letting me go into so many different areas here of what happened. But just wanted to ask one more question. Anything else you'd like to say to the listening audience, or any information you'd like to share with any possible future listeners?
Oh man, why you gotta describe me as being liberal?
Oh no, I meant liberal as in you let me ask a lot of questions, like what do you think Oborski thought, and like all this stuff that you're probably not technically qualified to answer,
Yeah, I was just messing with you. Anything that I would like to say to the listening audience, I suppose that a lot of PSP detractors would say, well, we're all a bunch of libertarians and anarchists and Democrats and yada, 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 I'm a Republican. I'm not a libertarian. I've never been anything but a Republican. I supported H. Ross Perot. I supported Pat Buchanan. I voted for Ronald Reagan the first time I was old enough to vote. I'm a Republican. I've always been a Republican. I would like for the Austin Police Department to know that I'm just the beginning. There's going to be more of your own are going to turn on you, because they're part of the same voting bloc as we are. Like 95% of law enforcement officers vote Republican. So I'm not some, whatever negative image somebody may have of an anarchist or a libertarian or whatever. The ones I know are all good people, but I'm different than them. And politically, I have more in common with the police officers probably than I have with the people in PSP. So, chew on that. I wholeheartedly condemn the actions of the Austin Police Department that night.
Well, thank you, Billy. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem, man. Anytime.